A key pillar of a global community of shared future, a revival of the ancient Silk routes for new dreams.
And with international efforts and win-win outcomes, the Belt and Road Initiative has reached its 10-year milestone.
Welcome to CGTN. This is our special coverage on the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing. I'm Pan Deng.
And I'm Li Qiuyuan. Over the past decade, the BRI proposed by China has evolved from ideas into action, from a vision into reality, and from a general framework into concrete projects.
And I'm Wang Mengmang. Here at the China National Convention Center, the Belt and Road CEO Conference has concluded with more deals inked. Now, more thematic forums will also be conducted here under a series of topics.
Well, Mengmang will be getting back to you later in the coverage for more updates, and the forum's opening ceremony will take place soon at Great Hall of the People. Leaders of participating BRI countries are there to raise their cooperation to new heights. Chinese President Xi Jinping will deliver a keynote speech. CGTN will bring you live to that important event. And for the latest, let's cross live to our reporter Dong Xue at Great Hall of the People. Hello, Dong Xue, bring us up to date.
Good morning, Pan Deng. As you can see, I am now standing outside the Great Hall of the People, and behind me you will be seeing a lot of motorcades, carrying the leaders from the participating BRI countries. They will be arriving here soon, anytime soon, for the opening ceremony. And as we speak, in about a half an hour, the third Belt and Road Forum for the international cooperation will be kicking off soon. And as this is the third time for such a high-level forum being held in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to deliver a keynote speech for the opening ceremony. And among all these attendees, now we have leaders from over 140 nations, as well as 30 international organizations are confirmed their attendances. And during the opening ceremony, we are also expecting Russian President Vladimir Putin, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, as well as the UN Chief Antonio Guterres. They will also make their remarks for the opening session. And also there will be a statement regarding this year's Belt and Road Forum will be delivered by Chinese President Xi Jinping. And after the opening ceremony, Chinese President Xi Jinping is lined up with a couple of bilateral meetings with all these visiting leaders from across the globe. Of course, all eyes are on a potential Xi-Putin meeting. We don't have any details yet, but for sure, experts expect that international issues as well as regional economic cooperations will be topping the agenda. And at the same time, there are three high-level forums which aimed to, focusing on the interconnectivity, green development, as well as digital economy will be also held by high-level Chinese officials. Pan Deng.
Thank you very much. Our reporter Dong Xue at Great Hall of the People in Beijing.
Thank you. And in the studio, we are now joined by Mr. Wang Huiyao, the founder of the Center for China and Globalization, and Mr. Einar Tangen, a senior fellow at the Taihe Institute think tank. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Einar, let me start with you. Officials have been saying that this forum is the most important diplomatic event that China is hosting this year. To you, what is setting this forum apart from the previous ones? What's different? What's new?
Well, I mean, the circumstances of the world are actually very serious today. You have a choice with what China has done with $1 trillion in terms of investment, or nearly $1 trillion, leveraging $4 trillion in infrastructure around the world. That has created profound changes. And today, the issue is, how do you go forward? Stark contrast to over $8 trillion spent on military expenditures in the U.S. When we're in a situation where things are less certain. Bullets and bombs have not lifted people out of poverty. So today, the world is really facing a watershed. Do you want to continue with development or with chaos?
Well, Dr. Wang, talking about moving forward, what are some of the key items on the agenda this time you're really looking into?
Well, I think this is really a great conference that actually summarizes what has been achieved in the past decade, and probably also going to have more policies, more statement, and more consensus been built through this milestone conference, but I think it's going to be a new contribution to the global platform, global governance, and global public goods. So this is really a good pillar, basically, as we are seeing the globalization, that we need a multipolar world. They could be served as a very important pillar for supporting this multipolar world. So Belt and Road is really about economic globalization, about economic prosperity and peace building. So it's very important that we all gather to build this more consensus and also enhance, improve, and enlarge the project.
Well, gentlemen, we'll be getting back to you very soon on this. The Belt and Road Initiative has strengthened China's ties with more than 3/4 of the world's countries and more than 30 international organizations. Now let's take a look at the key achievements of the BRI over the past decade.
Infrastructure projects have been a primary feature of BRI cooperation across the globe. Jointly constructed facilities such as the China-Laos Railway, Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway, Budapest-Belgrade Railway, and Port of Paris have already been put into operation. These infrastructure projects aim to promote regional connectivity. Freight train services connecting Europe and Asia have facilitated trade between both sides, while as of this June, the Maritime Silk Road has expanded to over 40 countries, reaching over 100 harbors. Countries under the BRI have also benefited from increased cooperation across various fields. China has signed over 20 free trade agreements with over 25 countries and regions, as well as more than 100 standardization cooperation agreements with over 60 foreign national bodies and international organizations. From 2013 to 2022, the total volume of imports and exports between China and Belt and Road partner countries reached $19.1 trillion, with an average annual growth rate of 6.4%. China's cumulative two-way investment with the Belt and Road partner countries have exceeded $380 billion.
Let's now go live to my colleague Momon there. Momon, you're at the forum. You're seeing everything firsthand. The CEO's conference was held yesterday. What were some of the highlights?
That's right, Julian. While diplomatic events are taking center stage at the Great Hall of the People, this venue here is where business leaders, policymakers, and experts exchange ideas and ink deals. More than 1,200 representatives from over 80 countries and regions took part in the CEO conference Tuesday afternoon. Well, they signed deals covering artificial intelligence, biomedicine, modern agriculture, as well as financial services, hitting a record in terms of both the number of deals and the value of contracts. Certainly a confidence booster as BRI partners mark this milestone. I talked to a scholar who was excited about opening up this new mineral research lab with the help of Chinese expertise, and also a multinational CEO in the energy sector looks forward to spearheading environmentally friendly projects with Chinese partners who developed, in his own words, the ecosystem of funding, engineering skills, technological innovation, and of course, hard work. It's the whole set. And of course, these plans to a great extent echo with participating countries' common desire for a shift towards smaller and greener projects, which could be low investment and high yield. And that's exactly where companies could start taking charge themselves instead of relying on government initiatives for mega infrastructure projects. Well, our studio here is located in the media center of the National Convention Center. Not a big one, but it's been keeping the shows running here. The venue this morning is not as buzz as it was yesterday, but this afternoon things will definitely get busier. 3 high-level forums will be held surrounding the themes of connectivity, green development, and the digital economy. Senior Chinese leaders will be attending these events. Also on the agenda are 6 sub-forums that will run in parallel, and themes include deepening connectivity and cooperation on different levels in different areas. It's worth noting that this is the first time maritime cooperation is brought up on the agenda. It certainly deserves much attention as participants discuss ecological protection and the sustainable development of the oceans. Again, it fits into this new, broader vision for a greener future under the Belt and Road Initiative. And we'll certainly have more details for you as the events here unfold. Back to you, Chuyan.
A lot going on there, lots of actions. Thank you very much, Mama. We'll be getting back to you throughout this morning. Let's now continue with our discussions with our guests. Let me turn to Mr. Wang first. 10 years obviously is a very important milestone, and Beijing is saying that over 3,000 projects has been launched in BRI countries over the past years, totaling nearly $1 trillion US, as Einar mentioned a little earlier. But talk to us, what do those numbers mean? Pretty massive numbers. What do they mean for those recipient or participating countries in the BRI? How are they benefiting from it?
Absolutely. For the past 77, 78 years since the Second World War, the world has actually been, driven by trade, by economic, by investment. But that's really large among the developed countries, some Asian country tigers, including China. But many countries are still, falling behind and lacking the infrastructure. So the infrastructure deficits globally is huge. And then, 10 years ago that China launched this Belt and Road Initiative, is actually thinking about what is the experience that we can share with the world. In China, we said that if you want to be rich, you build roads first. So I think that is really the connectivity, the essence of this Belt and Road Initiative, that we connect the world. And China has thousands of years of Silk Road experience. So this is really right time that we have a big impetus for the global economy, for the globalization, and for inclusive, including particularly for the developing countries. So I think this is really a key structure that really connects the world, and that's a new era of globalization. It's a new public goods, new global, governance improvement, and this economic organization driven by Belt and Road will continue. So we will serve as a beneficial, really, to the developing countries, particularly global South, and this also means that in this geopolitical world, competitive world, economic competition is still the most welcomed and by those countries.
China has made it clear from the very beginning, this is not about geopolitical maneuvering, it's about creating a new model of win-win cooperation. And now 10 years on, Einar, words are turning into actions, but when you look at it, what kind of contribution has it made really to the global community?
Well, massive. You heard the numbers earlier in the reports, 19.1 trillion growth, 6.4%. But, really, I think the Saudi Arabian minister made a very good point when he said, look, let's be real. China stepped up at a time when no one else was. Without China's contribution, where would the world be today? And this is the really important part. To a lot of people, the Belt and Road is half full. The people who are participated in it, the global South, they are looking at the Belt and Road as something that is hopeful for the future. For others who didn't participate, who didn't contribute, of course, the glass is half empty. They say, oh, well, it's not doing this, it's not doing that. But the question is, what are they putting into it?
Well, Dr. Wang, at the start of this discussion, you just described the positive momentum in a very challenging world nowadays. Now let's be a little bit specific on one aspect of this momentum, that is a green transition. Would you say BRI is now green and sustainable?
I think so, yes, because BRI over the past 10 years, the key, of course, connectivity infrastructure, that has revolutionized many countries, particularly China, and that experience could be shared worldwide. And of course, out of that, the biggest achievement China made is about green. We have a clean technology, we have wind power, solar, all leading hydro, all in the world now, and also EV cars too. So that new clean, green, and healthy development could be the key theme of the Belt and Road Initiative, but also the digital. That is also another new way of looking at it. China has the 70% of the 5G stations in the world and well-connected 1 billion smartphone users. So that kind of digital green will lead Belt and Road into a new phase, a new frontier that everybody will benefit from that, and a new impetus for the global economic growth and development.
Right, and gentlemen, as we're talking about this, we're also watching live footage from central Beijing at Great Hall of the People, where the opening ceremony will be starting very soon. Mr. Tangen, what about the financial side? How sustainable is it for the BRI?
Well, that's one of the issues. One of the main changes is at the beginning of the BRI, it was government-to-government loans. Unfortunately, those became politicized. Every time the governments changed, of course, whatever the previous government did was bad. So now there is a project-by-project basis. Everything is looked at in terms of feasibility. And this has made a huge change. But China cannot bear the burden alone. This is a situation where for the last 10 years it's shown what can be done if you put your shoulder to the wheel, if you really believe in this, if you take action. Now it is incumbent upon the world, especially entities like BRICS Plus, to say, look, this is something that actually works. We need to put the new development bank behind this. We need to start thinking of expanding infrastructure instead of funding wars.
And what I find most impressive is that now entering, the second 10 years, we're really seeing the BRI into a new stage, right? As you mentioned, the green transition we're witnessing, they are placing more emphasis on environmental issues, but what about other new priorities going forward, Mr. Wang?
Well, I think not only green and digital and of course infrastructure, but also Belt and Road Initiative is a massive network of building, connecting the world. And that's going to lead to more capital flows, people flow, tourism, student exchanges, culture exchanges, so that we are really become truly a global village. And that is really, we have the network. So this is really China and of course other countries. Well, also China stimulate other countries to come up with their version of infrastructure plans, which is great. I mean, let's work together. Let's get the World Bank, AIIB, ADB, FDB, all the development banks working on those projects that are seeing a new era of a transformation for the world and for the better life for the 8 billion people.
Yeah, we are seeing a pivot toward these soft infrastructures, digital connectivity, tech cooperation, as Mr. Wang mentioned, green transition, and health services as well. How are you looking at this going forward?
Well, I think education is going to be key. You have countries like Africa and India, which have huge populations, very young, but they don't have the skills and education levels that are necessary. There has to be investment in that. And China, what I see is, I agree with Henry on all of these points, but I think there's a distinction that needs to be made here. The way that China is approaching this is very different from previous entities like the West. They're saying, we want to share our technology. We want to jointly develop it with developing countries. And why is this important? Because the greatest difference in wealth is, that the world has seen is about to occur. Those who own the IP for the digital transformation are going to be wealthy for many, many years to come. Those who don't will be serving those who do. And China believes in this kind of idea of security initiatives, the development initiative, and the civilization initiative. In order for those to work, you need a much more equal society, and that means sharing instead of trying to keep it to yourself. We saw this during the pandemic. Companies from the West tried to say, oh, no, you need to pay me for this, even though a lot of it was based on public research. Whereas China actually built factories in other countries in an effort to share it. So it's a different in the way that different entities are approaching the problem and the future.
Well, Dr. Wang, let me follow up on the very word connectivity. Connecting minds and hearts is also one of the pillars of the BRI. You've been running a think tank in China for, if my memory is correct, more than a decade. That's so right. Do you have any in-person experiences in BRI connectivity in terms of minds and hearts?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been traveling this quite a lot now, and whenever I go, Middle East, I just come back from Middle East, and I go to Europe, Eastern Europe, and of course Africa, Latin America. I mean, everybody's talking. What's the last time there is a big plan for the world? I mean, since Marshall Plan, probably. So if China becomes the second largest economy in the world, if China is the largest trading nation with 140 countries, if China contributes over 1/3 of the global GDP growth, it's time to call China to really, be active to provide public goods for globally through this, Belt and Road Initiative. So I think that all the countries are welcoming that because they are lacking infrastructure, and we know this is a crucial experience for China. If you want to be really developed, you have to build up the infrastructure. So this deficit that China's initiative is really welcomed by many countries. But of course, we are open. We like to work with B3W, EU Global Gateway, or even Indian Euro Economic Corridor. But let's really get together. Let's work together. But China's done this through example. So that's why this Belt and Road 30 conference attended by breaking another record with 130-40 countries now. So I think this is great. And keep doing that. Let's pursue economic globalization rather than security or militarized globalization. And we are already in a very dangerous world. Let economic prevail. Let the common sense prevail.
Well, Mr. Tangen, would you say that is the true essence of true multilateralism?
Yeah, I disagree just in terms of nuances. That I do think that security is very important, and I think the security initiative has to. No country can have its security based on the insecurity of others. And quite frankly, every country is a sovereign nation and has the right to determine its own future, not to have its policies made in the capital of another country. And I think these are hand in glove with what the Belt and Road Initiative stands for, and that's why you have so many countries here. They're finally being given the ability to make their own decisions in a global system that respects their sovereignty, their security, and their desire to develop.
But you know, despite what we've discussed, the BRI is still viewed by some with skepticisms, right? Especially in Western capitals where governments are wary about Beijing's global ambitions. For example, the United States see it as a tool for China to extend its global influence at the expense of American power. The doubts are not going away. What do you see as some of the most pressing challenges to push ahead with the BRI into the future?
Well, from the U.S. point of view, it's about American hegemony, American exceptionalism, this idea that China is an existential threat because it doesn't follow what the U.S. wants. And that's quite frankly what the BRI stands for, this fact that every country has its own path. I mean, every country has a complex history of languages, philosophy, legal systems, political systems, cultures, everything that goes into literature. How is it possible that they're all going to fit into one little peg hole that somebody else has created? It's not. So those times are over, and quite frankly, it's time to put those away and start thinking about how you have global cooperation. The U.S. is going to continue to attack it. As I said, you can look at the BRI as a glass half full or half empty. For many in the U.S., it will always be half empty. But what is the U.S. doing to put water into the glass? This is the question.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, actually, I think that we are in a world. I mean, of course, security is important. We are seeing the world getting more dangerous now with what happened in Ukraine and in Palestine and Israel. So, what I think is that that's exactly the reason we need to strengthen the economic globalization. To really, link everybody together, so we have your part, you have my part, and then we are mixed together. So then we are difficult having a conflict. That is the essence of globalization, because I think the exact reason we haven't got a third world war is that last 78 years since the Second World War, the economy, the prosperity, the livelihood, the life expectancy, everybody has benefited from this peaceful environment. So we cannot go into this kind of hostile confrontation. And then we have to strengthen economic globalization. That's my point. Exactly important to do that.
Well, gentlemen, let's cross live to the Great Hall of the People, where the opening ceremony of the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation is about to start. Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to deliver a keynote speech, and many world leaders are also attending. You're watching live footage.
各位国家元首、政府首脑。
Heads of state, government.
各位国际组织负责人、各国代表、各位来宾、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家上午好。
Good morning.
今年是习近平主席提出
This year
共
marks
建“一带
the
一
10th
路”
anniversary
倡议
of the
10周
Belt and
年。
Road Initiative put forth by President Xi
10年来
Jinping.
共建“一带一
Over
路
the ” past
国际合作
decade,
取得丰硕成果，
Our joint efforts
为加强全球
with
互
international
联互通
partners
促进世界经济
has
增
yielded
长，
fruitful outcomes,
推动各国
strengthening
共同
global
发展
connectivity,
做出了
promoting
积极
world
贡献。
economic growth, and boosting common development for
今
all
天
countries.
第3届“一带一路”国际合作
Today,
高峰论坛在北
The
京
third
隆
Belt
重
and Road
开
Forum
幕
for International Cooperation
来
is
自
held
世界
here
各
in
地的
Beijing.
“一带一路”
From
参与
across
者
the world,
建
Belt
设
and
者
Road
贡
promoters,
献者
participants,
齐
and
聚北
contributors
京
have come
共
together
同回顾
to
合作
take
进展
stock of cooperation
总结合作
progress,
经验
sum up experience,
携手开
and
辟
open up
更美好的
an
未
even
来
brighter future.
下面
Now,
让我们欢迎
please
中国国家
join
主
me
席习近
in
平
welcoming
发表主旨
the
演讲
keynote speech by President Xi Jinping.
Your Excellencies, heads of state and government, heads of international organizations, representatives of various countries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends. Today, we are meeting here for the opening ceremony of the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. On behalf of the Chinese government and Chinese people, and in my own name, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to you all. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative I proposed. The BRI, drawing inspiration from the ancient Silk Road and focusing on enhancing connectivity, aims to enhance policy, infrastructure, trade, financial, and people-to-people connectivity, inject new impetus into the global economy, create new opportunities for global development, and build a new platform for international economic cooperation. Over these 10 years, we have stayed committed to this founding mission. Thanks to our joint efforts, Belt and Road International Cooperation has gotten off the ground, grown rapidly, and produced fruitful outcomes. Belt and Road Cooperation has extended from the Eurasian continent to Africa and Latin America. More than 150 countries and over 30 international organizations have signed Belt and Road Cooperation documents. We have held 2 sessions of the BRF before this one and have established over 20 specialized multilateral cooperation platforms under the BRI. Belt and Road Cooperation has progressed from sketching the outline to filling in the details. And blueprints have been turned into real projects. A large number of signature projects and small yet smart people-centered programs have been launched. Belt and Road Cooperation has expanded from physical connectivity to institutional connectivity. Important guiding principles for high-quality Belt and Road cooperation have been laid down, which include the principle of planning together, building together, and benefiting together, the philosophy of open, green, and clean cooperation, and the goal of pursuing high-standard, people-centered, and sustainable cooperation. Over these 10 years, we have endeavored to build a global network of connectivity consisting of economic corridors, international transportation routes, and information highway, as well as railways, roads, airports, ports, pipelines, and power grids, covering the land, the ocean, the sky, and the internet. This network has boosted the flow of goods, capital, technologies, and human resources among countries involved, and injected fresh vitality into the millennia-old Silk Road in the new era. Trains speeding along rail tracks, automobiles running on roads, flights connecting different countries, cargo ships breaking waves, and e-commerce bringing so much convenience to people. They have all become symbols of international trade in the new era, just like camel caravans and the sailing ships were for the past age. Hydro, wind, and solar energy-based power plants, oil and gas pipelines, and increasingly smart and interconnected power transmission networks are removing the development bottleneck caused by energy shortage and fulfilling the dream of developing countries to achieve green and low-carbon development. These energy projects have become the oasis and lighthouse for sustainable development in the new era. Brand new airports and harbors, smooth roads, and newly built industrial parks for business cooperation have created new economic corridors and new growth drivers. They have become the trading routes and staging posts of the new era. Rich and colorful cultural years, art festival, expos, and exhibitions. The Luban workshops, people-to-people exchange programs like the Silk Road Community Building Initiative and the Brightness Action Program, and deepening exchanges between non-governmental organizations, think tanks, media organizations, and the youth. All these flourishing activities have composed a symphony of friendship in the new era. When COVID-19 struck, the Belt and Road became a life-saving road. China provided more than 10 billion masks and 2.3 billion doses of vaccines to other countries, and jointly produced vaccines with over 20 countries, making a special contribution to BRI partners' efforts in fighting COVID-19. And China also received valuable support from more than 70 countries when it was hit hard by the pandemic. Belt and Road cooperation is based on the principle of planning together, building together, and benefiting together. It transcends differences between civilizations, cultures, social systems, and stages of development. It has opened up a new path for exchanges among countries and established a new framework for international cooperation. Indeed, the BRI represents humanity's joint pursuit of development for all. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, our achievements in the past decade are truly remarkable, and there is so much we can draw from them. We have learned that humankind is a community with a shared future. China can only do well when the world is doing well. When China does well, the world will get even better. Through Belt and Road cooperation, China is opening its door even wider to the world. With its inland regions turning from fullbacks into forwards, and coastal regions scaling new heights in their opening up. China's market has become even more closely integrated with the global market. China has become a main trading partner of more than 140 countries and territories, and a primary source of investment for more and more countries. Both Chinese investment overseas and foreign investment in China have boosted friendship, cooperation, confidence, and hope. We have learned that win-win cooperation is the sure way to success in launching major initiatives that benefit all. When countries embrace cooperation and act in concert, a deep chasm can be turned into a thoroughfare. Landlocked countries can become land-linked, and a place of underdevelopment can be transformed into a land of prosperity. Countries taking the lead in economic development should give a hand to their partners who are yet to catch up. We should all treat each other as friends and partners, respect and support each other, and help each other succeed. As the saying goes, when you give roses to others, the fragrance lingers on your hand. In other words, helping others is also helping oneself. Viewing others' development as a threat, or taking economic interdependence as a risk, will not make one's own life better or speed up one's development. We have learned the Silk Road spirit of peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, mutual learning and mutual benefit is the most important source of strength for Belt and Road cooperation. I once said that the pioneers of the ancient Silk Routes won their place in history not as conquerors with warships, guns, horses, or swords. Rather, they are remembered as friendly emissaries leading camel caravans and sailing ships loaded with goods. Belt and Road cooperation is based on the belief that flame runs high when everyone adds wood to the fire, and that mutual support can get us far. Such cooperation seeks to deliver a good life not only to people of just one country, but to people in other countries as well. It promotes connectivity, mutual benefit, common development, cooperation, and win-win outcomes. Ideological confrontation, geopolitical rivalry, and bloc politics are not a choice for us. What we stand against are unilateral sanctions, economic coercion, and decoupling and supply chain disruption. What has been achieved in the past 10 years demonstrates that Belt and Road cooperation is on the right side of history. It represents the advancing of our times, and it is the right path forward. We need to remain clear-eyed and undisturbed in a volatile world, and we need to be keenly aware of our responsibility for history, for the people, and for the world. We should jointly address various global risks and challenges and deliver a bright future of peace, development, cooperation, and mutual benefit for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, changes of the world, of our times, and of historical significance are unfolding like never before. China is endeavoring to build itself into a stronger country and rejuvenate the Chinese nation on all fronts by pursuing Chinese modernization. The modernization we are pursuing is not for China alone, but for all developing countries through our joint efforts. Global modernization should be pursued to enhance peaceful development and mutually beneficial cooperation and bring prosperity to all. On our way forward, we will encounter both headwinds and tailwinds. We need to stay focused on our goal, take results-oriented actions, persevere, and keep moving forward until our goal is met. China will work with all parties involved to deepen Belt and Road partnerships of cooperation, usher this cooperation into a new stage of high-quality development, and make relentless efforts to achieve modernization for all countries. Now, I wish to announce 8 major steps China will take to support our joint pursuit of high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. First, building a multidimensional Belt and Road connectivity network. China will speed up high-quality development of the China-Europe Railway Express, participate in the Trans-Caspian International Transportation Corridor, host the China-Europe Railway Express Cooperation Forum, and make joint efforts to build a new logistics corridor across the Eurasian continent, linked by direct railway and road transportation. We will vigorously integrate ports, shipping, and trading services under the Silk Road Maritime and accelerate the building of the new international land-sea trade corridor and the Air Silk Road. Second, supporting an open world economy. China will establish pilot zones for Silk Road e-commerce cooperation, enter into free trade agreements and investment protection treaties with more countries. We will remove all restrictions on foreign investment access in the manufacturing sector. In light of international high-standard economic and trade rules, we will further advance high-standard opening up in cross-border service trade and investment, expand market access for digital and other products, and deepen reform in areas including the state-owned enterprises, digital economy, intellectual property, and government procurement. China will hold the Global Digital Trade Expo annually. In the next 5 years, that is 2024 to 2028, China's total trade in goods and services is expected to exceed $32 trillion and $5 trillion, respectively. Third, carrying out practical cooperation. China will promote both signature projects and small yet smart livelihood programs. The China Development Bank and the Export-Import Bank of China will each set up a 350 billion yuan financing window. An additional 80 billion yuan will be injected into the Silk Road Fund. Together, They will support BRI projects on the basis of market and business operation. Cooperation agreements worth $97.2 billion have been concluded at the CEO conference held during this forum. China will also carry out 1,000 small-scale livelihood assistance projects and enhance vocational education cooperation through Luban workshops and other initiatives. We will also step up joint efforts to ensure the safety of BRI projects and personnel. Fourth, promoting green development. China will continue to deepen cooperation in areas such as green infrastructure, green energy, and green transportation, and step up support for the BRI International Green Development Coalition. China will continue to hold the BRI Green Innovation Conference and establish dialogue and exchange mechanisms for the solar industry and a network of experts on green and low-carbon development. China will implement the green investment principles for the Belt and Road and provide 100,000 training opportunities for partner countries by 2030. Fifth, advancing scientific and technological innovation. China will continue to implement the Belt and Road Science, Technology and Innovation Cooperation Action Plan, hold the first Belt and Road Conference on Science and Technology Exchange, increase the number of joint laboratories built with other parties to 100 in the next 5 years, and support young scientists from other countries to work on short-term programs in China. At this forum, China will put forward the global initiative for artificial intelligence governance. We stand ready to increase exchanges and dialogue with other countries and jointly promote the sound, orderly, and secure AI development in the world. Sixth, supporting people-to-people exchanges. China will host the Liangzhu Forum to enhance dialogue on civilizations with BRI partner countries. In addition to the Silk Road International League of Theaters, the Silk Road International Arts Festival, the International Alliance of Museums of the Silk Road, the Silk Road International Alliance of Art Museums, and the Silk Road International Library Alliance that have already been set up, China has also launched the International Tourism Alliance of Silk Road Cities. And we will continue with the Chinese government scholarship Silk Road program. Seventh, promoting integrity-based Belt and Road cooperation. Together with its cooperation partners, China will release the achievements and prospects of Belt and Road integrity building and the high-level principles on Belt and Road integrity building, and establish the integrity and compliance evaluation system for companies involved in Belt and Road cooperation. We will also work with international organizations to carry out research and training on promoting integrity in Belt and Road cooperation. Eighth, strengthening institutional building for international Belt and Road cooperation. China will work with its BRI partner countries to strengthen the building of multilateral cooperation platforms covering energy, taxation, finance, green development, disaster reduction, anti-corruption, think tank, media, culture, and other fields. China will continue to host the BRF and establish a secretariat for this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, the past decade has been a journey of dedicated cooperation and fruitful outcomes. Belt and Road cooperation was proposed by China, but its benefits and opportunities are for the world to share. Let us meet the expectations of the people, assume responsibilities entrusted on us by history, closely follow the trend of the times, and press ahead with energy and enterprise. Let us deepen Belt and Road international cooperation and bring Belt and Road cooperation to a new stage of higher quality and higher level development. Let us advance modernization of all countries, build an open, inclusive, and interconnected world for common development, and jointly build a community with a shared future for mankind. I wish the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation a full success. Thank you. Thank you, President Xi Jinping. President Xi gave a full review of the major achievements in Belt and Road cooperation in the past decade, drew important experience from its successes, and called on all parties to carry forward the Silk Road spirit, ushering Belt and Road cooperation into a new stage of high-quality development, and strive for the modernization of all countries. President Xi announced China's 8 major steps to support high-quality Belt and Road cooperation. We are convinced that Belt and Road cooperation in the future will make greater contributions to global growth and the common development and prosperity of all countries. Now, I give the floor to His Excellency President Vladimir Putin of Russia.
Distinguished President Xi Jinping, my dear friend, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank President of the PRC Xi Jinping for inviting me to participate in the third International Belt and Road Forum. The current forum is being marked by the 10-year anniversary of this really important initiative put forward by President Xi Jinping. It focuses on the future, aiming to form a fairer, multipolar world and the system of international relations. It is a global plan. I agree with the president of the PRC that the Chinese One Belt, One Road idea falls logically within multilateral efforts to strengthen creative and constructive interaction at the scale of the whole international community. We have repeatedly pointed out that Russia and China, as well as the majority of states of the world, share the aspiration for equal and mutually beneficial cooperation in order to reach comprehensive, sustainable and long-term economic progress and social well-being, at the same time respecting civilizational diversity and the right of every state for their own development model. The Belt and Road Initiative, based on such fundamental principles, links up very well with the developing in different regions of the world integration projects and processes. It is in tune with the Russian ideas of creating such integration framework that would fully ensure freedom of trade, investment, labor, and that would have interconnected infrastructure. It is in tune with our well-known proposal to form Greater Eurasian Partnership as an environment for cooperation and interaction of those of like mind that will involve various integration processes: Belt and Road Initiative, SCO, Association of the Southeast Asia Nations, ASEAN, and Eurasian Economic Union that Russia is successfully developing together with partners in the post-Soviet space. It is important that we have a specific agreement between Russia and China about parallel and coordinated development of the EAEU and the BRI. We also have a non-preferential agreement about trade and economic cooperation between the EAEU member states and the PRC. To unite efforts to implement this agreement, we have established a joint commission. In February of this year, a detailed roadmap was adopted that in particular includes establishing interaction between Eurasian Union and China in trade policy and transport corridors digitalization. I'll point out that integration agenda, in the widest meaning, is an integral part of Russian national development strategy and strengthening our economic, technological and financial sovereignty, modernizing and expanding infrastructure. Xi Jinping just said that this is being developed in different regions of the world. Dear colleagues, friends, I would like to say what Russian Federation does in this regard. And I hope that this is important for many participants of today's meeting, because Russia is the biggest country in the world. That is why the connectivity of all the partners is relevant for the relations between the partners. I'll mention some of our promising plans that are now being implemented in practice and harmoniously complement other infrastructure projects in Eurasia, including those promoted through the BRI, and together allow to create a united transport logistic framework, diversify cargo flows through more effective, reliable, safe supply. In the European part of Russia, we form an international north-south corridor. And President of the PRC has mentioned it. It connects Russian ports in the Baltic and the Arctic with the ports on the coast of the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean. Along the entire route from our northern city Murmansk to Bandar Abbas in Iran, there'll be, like experts say, seamless railway communication. Another Murmansk transport meridian from north to south will go through the Urals and Siberia. Its key elements is modernization of the central part of the Trans-Siberian Railway, including Western Siberian Railway, on the territories of our Omsk, Novosibirsk, Kemerovo, Tomsk regions, Altai territory. All of these are regions into Siberia. There is also the construction of the Northern Latitudinal Railway with the exit to the ports of the Northern Ocean and the ports of Yamal in the north of the Krasnoyarsk territory. There is also a new North Siberian Railway from Khanty-Mansiysk Autonomous District to joining our Trans-Siberian Railway and Baikal-Amur Railway. At the same time, we work with our foreign partners to construct railway routes from central Siberia to the south, to China, Mongolia, ports of the Indian and the Pacific Oceans. And finally, another corridor from the Arctic to south is planned in the Far East. Its elements are being formed. They include a railway line from Baikal-Amur Railway to Yakutia, bridges across the Lena and Amur rivers that are big rivers in Siberia, Pacific Ocean Railway, modernizing highways, creation deep water terminals in the eastern part of the North Sea route. All of these transport corridors from north to south, in the European part of Russia, Siberia, in the Far East, open opportunities to directly connect, integrate North Sea route with large logistic hubs in the south of our continent, on the coast of the Indian and the Pacific Oceans. As for the Northern Sea route, Russia does not just suggest our partners to actively use its transit capacity. I'll say more. We invite interested states to directly participate in its development. We are ready to provide reliable ice channeling, communication and supply. From the next year, the navigation of the ice-class cargo vessels along the whole North Sea route will be all year round. The creation of the mentioned international and regional logistic trade routes objectively reflects the profound changes that are happening in the world economy. The new role that is being played by Asian Pacific countries, Global South countries, and other centers of growth and development. Taking this into account, Russia, that is going to preside in the extended BRICS next year, has put forward an initiative to establish, in the context of this association, a permanent commission on transport logistics that, with the participation of BRICS members, our partner countries and other interested states, could focus on the development of international transport corridors in their entirety. I'll add that these topics are being discussed at the Platform of Transport Week that is annually held in Moscow, and we invite experts from your countries, dear friends, to participate in this forum in the middle of November in the capital of Russia. In conclusion, I would like to express confidence that the BRI and just outlined Russian priorities, constructive and the most bold proposals of other states, including those participating today in the forum, will allow to find collective and truly effective solutions to the important and relevant regional and international problems. Dear colleagues, friends, every one of us, when we start something really big, we expect that it will be successful. but understanding the global scale that was initiated 10 years ago by President Xi Jinping, it is really hard to expect that everything will be well, but our Chinese friends managed to do that, and we are really glad to see these successes because it is really important for us. The president of the PRC just has presented a program of the future actions, constructive, dedicated to the common result. And I would like to wish success to the Chinese People's Republic, to the president of the PRC in their plans, and I wish everyone success in our plans and all the best. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, President Putin. I now give the floor to His Excellency President Zhomar Tokayev of Kazakhstan. Your Excellency President Xi Jinping, dear colleagues and participants of the BRF, at the outset, I would like to extend congratulations to President Xi and the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. I really appreciate the hospitality extended to us and the excellent arrangements made for the forum. Today's China plays a critical role in ensuring global security. It is an engine of economic and technological advances. In a world of growing challenges, Belt and Road Initiative has become a popular international cooperation project and a platform for international economic cooperation. This project demonstrates the economic strength of China and its aspirations to reach an even higher level globally. The BRI has achieved a great deal, and this has been widely recognized by many countries. Your Excellency President Xi Jinping, dear colleagues, Kazakhstan is where the BRI was first put forward in Kazakhstan. 10 years ago, it was in Kazakhstan. President Xi elaborated on this initiative of far-reaching significance. At the 10th anniversary of the BRI, we can say with pride that this initiative with great relevance has been widely recognized and has become a grand platform for international cooperation. This platform has become a platform for real, tangible cooperation. Thanks to investment along the routes, more than 150 countries from Europe, Asia, and Africa, through well-connected railways, roads, and sea routes, has achieved more extensive connectivity. The BRI has become a global public good that can help countries navigate this turbulent international landscape and meet global challenges. The BRI has helped enhance mutual understanding, connectivity, and friendship among the countries. There's no exaggeration in saying that the BRI has injected new vitality in the ancient Silk Road. So the BRI put forth by China is a mega cooperation project in the 21st century. Kazakhstan is at the heart of the Eurasian continent that connects the north and the south, the west and the east. It plays a unique role in implementing the BRI. As a landlocked country, Kazakhstan has a long common border with China. We are committed to building Kazakhstan into an international transportation hub. Now about 85% of the cargo moving from China to Europe goes through Kazakhstan. We are committed to transit transportation. Over the past 15 years, we have invested $35 billion for this. We have also launched a number of large-scale infrastructure projects, including the China-Kazakhstan Lianyun Port Logistics Center, the Hogorts Port, the transit highway from Western Europe to China's west, and also the railway corridor connecting China and Iran. In the spirit of our lasting friendship and our comprehensive strategic partnership, Kazakhstan will remain committed to advancing Belt and Road cooperation. In the next 3 years, we plan to build 1,300 kilometers of railway, and we will open the third cross-border railway along our border with China and establish new land ports, including Baku and Karjat. All these are vivid examples of how we have combined our large-scale economic projects with China's global initiative. The Trans-Caspian International Transport route has become a signature cooperation project of many countries. This transport avenue will link China with Central Asia and Europe and become a land bridge across the Belt and Road. Once implemented, this transport route will cut the time needed to travel across the land bridge and significantly reduce costs. Our two countries have signed intergovernmental agreement on developing the Trans-Caspian route, and I believe concrete results will be achieved soon. And I also suggest that we establish a strategic port partnership network, a center of logistics, and a postal center. We are also ready to work with China on shipbuilding. Kazakhstan is ready to serve as a reliable air bridge and a port for advanced airlines in the world. To further enhance trade between Belt and Road partner countries, there should be greater cooperation to align our customs policies, resist protectionism, and create favorable conditions for investment and cooperation. Cooperation under Digital Silk Road also opened up broad prospects for our cooperation. We believe a new model of digital cooperation will make tangible contribution to innovation-based development of all relevant countries. I believe in the next decade, Kazakhstan will continue to work for even greater progress in Belt and Road cooperation. I am convinced that under the wise leadership of President Xi Jinping, China, in the new era, will create even more glorious achievements and make even more cooperation outcomes in building a community with a shared future for mankind. Thank you. Thank you, President Tokayev. I now give the floor to His Excellency President Joko Widodo of Indonesia.
His Excellency President Xi Jinping, Excellencies, leaders, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, allow me to convey my congratulations on the first decade of the Belt and Road Initiative. And I hope that the BRI's synergy in infrastructure development can continue to be strengthened. And amidst an increasingly divided world, BRI cooperation must not be politicized. This requires our collective efforts in maintaining its core values in order for this initiative to become stronger and more impactful. There are three things that I would like to raise. First, synergy that provides ownership space for the host countries to run their national projects independently, because having a sense of ownership is very important for the sustainability of the related projects. Indonesia has a national project, the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway, which was then synergized with the BRI and recently launched and operationalized. Going forward, we will also synergize the development of the Nusantara capital city, energy transition, and industry downstreaming. Second, BRI projects must be based on the principles of equal and mutually beneficial partnership and equipped with careful planning, the use of a transparent funding system, the use of local employment, and the utilization of domestic products. Third, the sustainability of BRI projects must be ensured for the long term and strengthens the economic foundation of partner countries. It must not complicate their fiscal conditions. In closing, I thank the government of the People's Republic of China and President Xi for their contribution to developing countries through the BRI. A Chinese proverb goes, Yi Kung Yishan. Persistence will manifest miracles. Let us fight hard together to advance economic development and realize prosperity for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, President Joko Widodo. I now give the floor to His Excellency President Alberto Fernandez of Argentina. Your Excellency Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, heads of state and government, representatives of countries, good morning. It is my great honor to attend the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation and address the opening ceremony. As we speak, hegemonies are declining, regional frictions still go on, multilateralism continues to be enhanced. Against such a backdrop, the Belt and Road Initiative, which was proposed on the basis of the principle of building together, has become a promising international initiative for global cooperation. For us, supporters of multilateralism, the BRI is a mechanism that promotes relations among countries. This initiative does not compete with existing regional mechanisms, but promotes synergy by bringing out the strength of participating countries. Over the past years, we see rapid technological advances and a serious climate crisis. All these require us to change the way we produce and consume. This is why today we are now seeing two parallel transitions, the digital transition and the ecological transition. While bringing to us risks, these two transitions have also given us vast opportunities. The Argentine government firmly believes that we need to take a cooperative attitude in response to the shared challenges and promote the economic and social development of all countries. This is why we support the three initiatives put forward by President Xi Jinping, namely the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, and the Global Civilization Initiative. We also support the 8 steps proposed by President Xi Jinping in his keynote speech. Also, in realizing our goals, we see China as an important partner. In developing our bilateral relations, we have become increasingly closer partners with China, and this has always been our goal. In 2014, our two countries established the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. And during my term, Argentina joined the Belt and Road Initiative. We see that the political mission of strengthening bilateral relations continues to go on, and we have been working towards this goal. After signing an MOU on Belt and Road cooperation in June this year, we formulated a detailed cooperation plan which is quite ambitious. We hope that this cooperation plan can significantly enhance Argentina's strategic infrastructure. These days, we will establish a working group which will mark a new step toward implementing the cooperation plan. Argentina's diplomatic relations with China has traversed a fruitful 50-plus years. In recent years, China has become our important partner. During COVID-19, China was our brother in need. When the International Monetary Fund exerted pressure on us, when we had a hard time, China offered us financial assistance. China invested in us and created jobs for our people. These are not empty words, but real actions. China is now taking part in Argentina's energy transition by financing and taking part in the construction of hydroelectric plants, wind farms, and photovoltaic stations in Argentina. Take the hydroelectric plant in Patagonia, now under construction, as an example. Investment in this project alone is close to $5 billion. This project will generate clean and renewable energy, which will significantly improve Argentina's energy mix. Chinese investment in Argentina's mining sector is also important, in particular in the salt flats from which lithium is extracted. Lithium has now become the core of our energy transition. We stand ready to deepen cooperation with China, increase the added value of Argentina's lithium, improve our export and production profiles, and create more decent and well-paid jobs in Argentina. I also wish to thank President Xi Jinping and the Chinese people for standing with us. As I said, these years have been particularly hard for all of us. For Argentina, it was especially so. COVID-19 and the war has shaken the global economy, and this has made normal exchanges among countries even more difficult. Decline in global trade is one example. At the most critical moment in fighting COVID-19, Argentina fought side by side with China. We got the support and help from China. China donated to us medical supplies. When some countries were hoarding vaccines for their own people, China was the one that offered us vaccines. The assistance we got from China has helped us to meet the basic medical needs of our people. Vaccines have been indispensable. They've helped us to return to normalcy after months of isolation and economic contraction. Such adversity did not stop our two countries from strengthening bilateral relations. We are very grateful to China. When the IMF asks us to repay the debt left by the previous irresponsible government, when a drought has caused our exports to fall, depriving us of foreign exchange of an amount equivalent to 3% of our GDP, China was there to give us financial support. Also, thanks to China's support, we've joined the BRICS mechanism. Countries in this mechanism reject hegemonism, respect multilateralism, and are rethinking international relations on that basis. I also support President Putin's initiative on strengthening BRICS cooperation. Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, again, I wish to extend a sincere appreciation to the government you led and the Chinese people. I hope that during this forum we will debate around the core topics you've proposed, such as reflecting on the current international trade, promoting the use of technologies with smaller environmental impact, developing the digital economy, deepening subnational relations, and strengthening maritime cooperation. These are topics that will help us to address the challenges we face. In order to successfully overcome them, we need peaceful and cooperative interactions among people of all countries. An old African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. At this critical moment, let us walk hand in hand and toward a fairer world that we all dream of. Thank you.
Thank you, President Fernandez. Now I give the floor to His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali of Ethiopia.
Your Excellency Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Antonio Guterres, United Nations Secretary General, Heads of International Organization, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, allow me to express my gratitude to President Xi Jinping and the government of the People's Republic of China for convening us today and for the warm hospitality that has been accorded to us. I'm very pleased to join here in Beijing for the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative. The BRI, which is a laudable ambition to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa, is a significant international cooperation initiative anchored in the principles of collective progress. I applaud President Xi for his vision in designing and launching the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as for the proposal of the 3 global initiatives of civilization, security, and development, aimed at building a community with a shared future. Excellencies, as a global community, we find ourselves in an ever-complex and crisis-prone world. We are confronted with a climate problem, structural shifts, and global insecurity. Concerted and collaborative efforts to address our common challenges have often helped us remain resilient. Hence, more than ever, we are called upon as global leaders to uphold the principles of humanity, justice, inclusivity, equity, and compassion in rising up to the occasion. I stand before you representing an ancient and historic civilization, Ethiopia, a country gifted with a robust and resilient population of over 120 million that drives Africa's fastest growing economy. Located in the home region, Ethiopia also serves as an important gateway between Africa, the Middle East, and the wider Asia. I also stand before you as a proud Africa that hails from a continent of 1.4 billion people, a continent with a thriving youth population that is propelling it to become a global economic powerhouse. Without a doubt, Africa is the next frontier market. Excellencies, historic relations between the African continent and China span 2,000 years. Sino-Africa relations can be traced back to the reign of Emperor Wu of Han. With the development of the Silk Road, exchanges between Africa and China became increasingly frequent and reached their peak during the Ming Dynasty. Admiral Zheng He's voyage to the Western Seas reached the east coast of Africa, bridging Chinese specialties such as ceramics and silk, and returning to China with many commodities. China has maintained diplomatic relations with numerous African countries since the Ming Dynasty. Sino-African ties today have grown exponentially, characterized by a commitment to mutually beneficial cooperation and respect for sovereignty. Through the BRI, these relations are delivering infrastructure developments across Africa, as well as helping to improve trade within the continent and with China. As the largest ever transnational infrastructure program, the BRI is therefore facilitating integration and sustainable growth. Large-scale investments in infrastructure and strengthened commercial ties have boosted the continent's economic development. With a rapidly growing population, the African continent is in high demand of sustainable and dignified development. And through BRI investments, many jobs have been created and livelihoods improved. Road and railway projects are linking previously unconnected places. People-to-people relations are being enhanced both within and across countries. The principle of connectivity inherent in BRI has also offered African countries with alternative sources of capital, technology, and skills needed for our modernization agenda. In my country, Ethiopia, for example, one of the remarkable BRI accomplishments is the construction of Africa's longest electric transnational railway, which runs through Ethiopia all the way to Djibouti. The line revitalized local and regional economies. It plays a critical role in connecting people and enhancing efficiency in the logistics value chain along the strategically significant Ethio-Djibouti corridor. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, once a source of raw materials, Africa is now realizing its potential and capacity. A continent that has been sidelined until now is harnessing the demographic dividend, leveraging its natural endowments, and rapidly becoming a global economic, social, and political powerhouse. In the global arena, the inclusion of African Union as permanent member of the G20 is a long overdue recognition of the voice of a continent with 1.4 billion people. With around 85% of global GDP and roughly 75% of global trade represented by the G20, the African Union's entry will significantly enhance the continent's ability to raise and collectively address issues of development that excessively affect Africa. As inclusivity is becoming a necessary feature of multilateralism, I have no doubt that such reforms we are witnessing in the global fora will extend to include African countries as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. It has been said that the flapping of the wings of a butterfly can be felt on either side of the world. The African continent in particular has suffered the consequences of the climate crisis as well as interstate conflict in other parts of the world. As a result, we cannot be idle observers in forums that affect our common well-being since they shape our fate. Excellencies, we recognize that peace and development are two sides of the same coin. They are mutually reinforcing. Inclusive and equitable growth is essential to sustain peace, and a culture of peace is essential to enabling sustainable growth. Initiatives like the BRI, when fully implemented to potential, invariably foster peaceful development. The power of integration resides in enabling schemes that bring people closer to intimate knowledge and understanding of one another. Infrastructure used to bridge rather than divide offers value and builds trust. In a world full of barriers, I call upon all of us to build bricks to connect metaphorically as well as literally. As I conclude my remarks, I would like to highlight the proposal put forth by the President Xi during the recent China-Africa Leaders Dialogue held in Johannesburg. This includes China's initiative on supporting Africa's industrialization, plan for China supporting Africa's agriculture modernization, and the plan for China-Africa cooperation on talent development. I also support the 8 points proposed by President Xi because it mainly focuses on investing both on people and planet, which leads us to prosperity. These Africa-centered initiatives are foresighted investments that build a bridge to the Africa we want. I would like to emphasize that Ethiopia fully welcomes these plans and initiatives in harmony with our development strategy and 10-year economic plan to diversify our economy and forge our path to holistic prosperity. I thank you. 谢谢.
Thank you, Prime Minister Abe, for your speech. I now give the floor to Secretary General Antonio Guterres of the United Nations.
Your Excellency, President Xi Jinping, congratulations. And thank you very much for your kind invitation and for your steadfast commitment to multilateralism, to international cooperation, and to the United Nations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Third Belt and Road Forum recognizes a central truth. Without infrastructure, including infrastructure, there can be no development. And without development support, many developing countries will be starved of the infrastructure they desperately need. Infrastructure is the foundation of everyday life for people and economies. From drinking water and basic sanitation, to electricity, connectivity, and internet access, from public services like schools and hospitals, to modern roads, bridges, tunnels, harbors, and railways that keep people and goods moving. And yet, billions in the developing world lack access to these basic systems. And that is why this meeting and the Belt and Road are so important. The infrastructure crisis comes as people are facing a cauldron of challenges across our efforts to advance peace, sustainable development, and human rights. And this includes soaring costs of living, rising inequalities, and the existential threat of climate breakdown. Meanwhile, progress on the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement is slipping into reverse. We must find and fund ways to generate economic growth, create decent jobs, transform energy systems, and advance sustainable solutions for the 21st century. And infrastructure is a crucial pathway. We can and must turn the infrastructure emergency into the infrastructure opportunity. Now, the Belt and Road demonstrates that we have an historic opportunity to build modern, green cities, communities and transportation and power systems that place resilience and sustainability at the heart, that delivers services and decent jobs for people in a sustainable manner. And I see the Belt and Road's initiative's potential to make valuable contributions in two key areas of action. First, by advancing economic sustainability in developing countries. Let us look at the context they face. Many developing countries are confronting dramatic financial challenges, drowning in debt, and without fiscal space to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. It is time to make the global financial architecture truly global and fit for the 21st century. At last month's SDG Summit, world leaders endorsed a commitment to reforming the global financial architecture to make it reflect the world economy of today, not the one of 1945. And leaders also agreed that we can take action right now to promote effective debt relief mechanisms including by ensuring that countries are not locked into unsustainable debt and channelizing emergency financial support towards those countries that need it most. And leaders also supported an SDG stimulus of $500 billion per year. Now, in this context, dramatic context for the developing countries, the relevance of the Belt and Road Initiative is undeniable. It has included nearly $1 trillion in cumulative investments across more than 3,000 projects around the world. And I underline the importance of the decision of President Xi Jinping to align the Global Development Initiative with the Sustainable Development Goals. The second key area for action is by advancing environmental sustainability. The Belt and Road Initiative recognizes that infrastructure, for infrastructure's sake, is not enough. The Belt and Road is an important instrument to make key investments a reality, driven by clear domestic demand and in line with international best practices. Investments that enable resilience and adaptation across national and local planning. Investments that can help keep our 1.5-degree global warming limit within reach. And investments that don't leave countries with stranded assets and the polluted dead hands of the past. I recognize the efforts of the Green Silk Road Initiative to anchor investments in sustainable solutions, an area in which the UN is poised to support. Our Climate Solidarity Pact calls on big emitters to make extra efforts to cut emissions and support emerging economies to do the same. And the acceleration agenda I have proposed urges governments to fast forward on their energy transition. We need developed countries reaching net zero as close as possible to 2040 and emerging economies as close as possible to 2050, according to the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in light of different national circumstances. But developing countries will need massive support for a fair, equitable and just energy transition towards renewables while providing affordable electricity to all. Belt and Road investments can help drive this progress and support developing economies as they make the shift from planet-killing energy sources towards clean, renewable energy. We all agree that development cannot come at the expense of the air we breathe, the water we drink, or the biodiversity that defines our planet's health. Yesterday's shows showing the harmony between humankind and nature was a reminder to us all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, together with the contribution of the Belt and Road Initiative, we can turn the infrastructure emergency into an infrastructure opportunity, supercharge the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, and deliver hope and progress for billions of people and the planet we share. Mr. President, with your permission and facing this august assembly, I feel, as Secretary-General of the United Nations, the obligation to say a few words about the catastrophe unfolding in the Middle East. The region is on the precipice. Immediately before departing for Beijing, I made two urgent humanitarian appeals to Hamas for the immediate and unconditional release of the hostages, to Israel to immediately allow unrestricted access of humanitarian aid to respond to the most basic needs of the people of Gaza, the overwhelming majority of whom are women and children. I'm fully aware of the deep grievances of the Palestinian people after 56 years of occupation. But as serious as these grievances are, they cannot justify the acts of terror against civilians committed by Hamas on October 7 that I immediately condemned. But those attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Each of my two humanitarian appeals have a value in themselves. They are not bargaining chips, they are simply the right things to do. And I am horrified by the hundreds of people killed at Al-Ahli Hospital this same day in Gaza by a strike that I strongly condemned earlier today. I call for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to provide sufficient time and space to help realize my two appeals and to ease the epic human suffering we are witnessing. Too many lives and the fate of the entire region hang on the balance. May the spirit of this meeting help those that need to find peace. Thank you.
That was the opening ceremony of the third Belt and Road Forum on International Cooperation. Chinese President Xi Jinping has delivered a keynote speech raising 8 proposals to move the BRI further in the future.
That's right. That's the biggest announcement this morning, isn't it? And we also have leaders from 5 other countries and the UN speaking at the forum. They really echoed each other when they talk about the need to join hand in finding solutions to some of the world's most pressing issues, in creating synergy and achieving win-win cooperation. Right. So a lot to unpack. Let's put things into perspectives with our guests, Mr. Wang Huiyao and Mr. Einar Tangen. So to you first, Mr. Wang, the forum really is expected to lay out a blueprint for the next decade for the BRI. Having listened to the president's speech, what kind of signals have you picked up? Any major changes, any policy shift?
Yes, this is very significant. I think President Xi actually gave a very comprehensive and very proposed new framework for the Belt and Road. As a matter of fact, he has summarized the achievement we had in the past, but also he said the Belt and Road has new spaces, new rooms, and of course new plans and new project. So what I actually most impressed with his new framework as proposed now, 8-point proposal. And he mentioned about you're going to expand the Belt and Road networks. He mentioned about they're going to have more corridors, there will be more Silk Road, even the air Silk Road. So that's really impressive. And he talked about digital, how we can expand a digital Silk Road, and also we continue to hold the digital expo for Belt and Road as well. So there's many things, and then there's a more project. He announced some new budget and new proposals, spendings for the different to carry out more project. Some are symbolic and very remarkable project, and some small and beautiful project. So it's really quite comprehensive. And talk about green development. There's also a budget announced that advanced technology and innovation, and creating jobs and the labs and all those things. But one of them very significant, which is also I think has been proposing for a long time, is also President Xi announced going to set up a secretarial office for the forum, which is great to institutionalize this. And of course, I see other presidents echo that, talk about all kind of plans that in their region. So you can see this consensus led by China expanding not only to the 5 presidents that UN talk about, but also to other developed countries, even US, EU, and Indian leaders talk about those. So I think this is revolutionized infrastructure transformation for the world.
What I find interesting is that the president talked a few times about these small yet smart projects, 小而美, projects that are small but beautiful. As Mr. Wang mentioned, after 10 years of big projects, this is a marked shift.
Well, I think that, it's more talking now. I think it's more it's more consensus building, realizing, and also President said this is not only China's initiative, this is a world initiative. So every country is welcoming to contribute. I was seeing that President Putin talk about Eurasia, President from Kazakhstan talk about Caspian corridor, and also African, Indonesia, everybody talk about that, and particularly UN Secretary General talk about infrastructure is the foundation for the global prosperity and solving the developing country problems. So this initiative proposed by China 10 years ago has actually ushered in a global awareness about infrastructure connectivity and bottlenecks of all the development. Prosperity development is really the key to secure the peace for the world.
Right, Mr. Tangen, also UN chief, he called on the world to act more on this so-called infrastructure crisis. And now also looking at 5 other speeches delivered by world leaders, how much do you think the BRI has so far echoed the UN chief's call?
I think it's, they were all in tune. I mean, there's no question about it. The BRI, as I said, the people who spoke think that the glass is half full, and they're looking to push it in. And as Henry pointed out, Xi Jinping was talking about the blueprint and sketching in, all right, the details. Done big projects, have done a lot of things. Now they want to make sure that everybody is coming along, and that you see that. Interesting in number 2 is his second point is he talked about a lot of things that have a lot to do with the CPTPP in terms of opening that up. I mean, I was very, very interested by the commitment to that. It wasn't necessarily echoed as much in the other speeches, but they were very clear. I was very interested in Widodo's speech, very short, but he made it very clear that debt and transparency are going to be very needed, all right, as things go forward. And I think Guterres did an excellent job of summing up that it's not only economic, but also environmental, that there has to be sustainability goals that are included as part of this. So all in all, it was, I think, although it wasn't coordinated, you could definitely see the shift as all of these countries, and they represented every part of the Belt and Road Initiative. Think about it in terms of the country heads that were there. Notably absent was somebody from the Middle East, but they were in attendance, and it's very clear that they are supportive of this based on comments that have been made leading up to this. So very comprehensive. It points to a very positive future, as opposed to, unfortunately, what Guterres mentioned is happening right now, which is negative. Bullets and bombs are not going to lift people out of poverty. Plans, blueprints, economic development will.
Yeah, right, gentlemen, we'll be getting back to you on this very soon.
Yeah, they do see the effectiveness in creating synergetic relations, isn't it? Now, President Xi Jinping has just delivered a speech at the opening ceremony of the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Let's now go live to our reporter, Jiao Yunfei, who is standing by at the Great Hall of the People. Yunfei, walk us through the president's speech. What were some of the key takeaways?
Well, Qiuyan and Pendong, we just witnessed President Xi's speech here at the Great Hall of the People, and basically that's a speech that has a lot of content. It lays out the past, present, and future of the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, he first cherished that the 10 years of development of the initiative, because this year marks a decade of Belt and Road Initiative, and the initiative was inspired by the Asian Silk Road, and President Xi said that cooperation has expanded from EU, Asia continent all the way to Africa and Latin America. He also said that the initiative has developed from a general idea, a concept, all the way to a detailed blueprint. Now, BRI has really developed from a document, more than 150 countries and 30 international corporations have signed the BRI document with China over the past decade. So it's a very fruitful result. He elaborated several details on the specific fields of projects, for example, economic corridors, infrastructure connectivity, cultural exchanges, especially President Xi mentioned about during the pandemic era, the connectivity brought by the Belt and Road Initiative has really become a life-saving corridor. Now, that all comes to a philosophy of common destiny. President Xi said that if the world is good, then China is good. Vice versa, if China is good, and the world is good. And then he said that, I quote, life won't be easier if one who treat others' development is a threat. So certainly this is a very traditional and basic Chinese wisdom and philosophy. And he echoed on the Asian Silk Road's philosophy that the reason why it's successful is because it is against war, it is against ideology campaign. So China currently is hopping on the path of common development. There's two major takeaways from the keynote speech. One of them is the Chinese modernization. President Xi mentioned about the Chinese modernization path, and he says that China is willing to offer its idea to the rest of the world so that the entire world can hop on the journey to its own modernization. And how to do that? The high-quality development of the Belt and Road Initiative. Therefore, he listed 8 specific measures, including boosting connectivity, encourage free trade, promote green development, and promote high technology, innovation, people-to-people exchanges, and all come down to the improvement of international cooperation on the initiative. Now, followed by President Xi's speech, there are also presidents of Russia, Kazakhstan, Indonesia, Argentina, and Ethiopia. So it's a good representation because these are the presidents from the country of Europe, Central Asia, Latin America, as well as Africa. Also, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also delivered a speech at the very end. So China wants to deliver a message that BRI is from China, but the outcome can benefit the entire world. And that all comes down to the idea of building a community with a shared future for mankind. Back to you, Tuyan and Pandong.
Well, thank you very much, our reporter Zhao Yunfei at the Great Hall of the People. Now let's get more from Chinese President Xi Jinping's keynote speech. He says China is pursuing modernization for all developing countries.
The modernization we are pursuing is not for China alone, but for all developing countries through our joint efforts. Global modernization should be pursued to enhance peaceful development and mutually beneficial cooperation and bring prosperity to all.
Well, Mr. Tangen, talking about modernization for all developing countries, we noticed that in the president's speech, he also used this term, global modernization, and the key features are peace and development, mutually beneficial cooperation, and common prosperity. Do you think this adds new features to the very word modernization we knew earlier?
Well, I think it's still based on these 3 ideas of security, development, and civilization. And as that, I mean, this whole process of what he laid out was how do you achieve this kind of community of shared values, and what does it mean? And he's doing it by action rather than talk. He points to 10 years of advancement of success. And he says there's more to be done. And he talked about everything from the macro to micro. He's covered everything from environmental to peace. So when we talk about modernization, you're talking about a global system. Guterres made a very sharp division between the policies and ideas of 1945 and today, and what has been expressed at this conference. And I think that's really what modernization means. It's adopting this idea that differences can be respected, that we can get along peacefully as long as we understand that we desire the same things: peace, development, and respect for sovereignty.
Yeah, we also want to play another soundbite from the president. President Xi Jinping says China is opening up wider to the world through the Belt and Road Initiative. Take a listen.
We have learned that humankind is a community with a shared future. China can only do well when the world is doing well. When China does well, the world will get even better. Through Belt and Road cooperation, China is opening its door even wider to the world. An additional 80 billion yuan will be injected into the Silk Road Fund. Together, they will support BRI projects on the basis of market and business operation.
President Xi Jinping also says China seeks mutual benefit and common development, and it opposes decoupling and ideological confrontation.
We have learned that win-win cooperation is the sure way to success in launching major initiatives that benefit all. Ideological confrontation, geopolitical rivalry,
and bloc politics are not a choice for us. What we stand against are unilateral sanctions, economic coercion, and decoupling and supply chain disruption.
So as we heard there, the president talked about how BRI is facilitating China's further opening up to the world. He also says that China looks to attract more capital, market capital, and make things commercialized under the framework. That's the future direction, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is very, very significant. Actually, one of the very noticeable points that President Xi mentioned. And also you will notice that you had, this time, they had the largest scale CEO, the business summit, just happened yesterday. 1,500 CEO and business representatives coming from all over the world come to the Belt and Road. So this Belt and Road has the largest business gathering in the world. And President Xi mentioned about this, let's do the market and commercial and all those activities. Apply that to Belt and Road. So I think that adds a huge impetus. It's expanding from a government initiative to the market initiative to the business initiative. So they can attract multinationals, companies around the world to jump into this initiative. So this is really significant, it's expanding. But also, as President Xi said, we don't want to have other decoupling, this kind of bloc politics. Let's do the business. This is a language that we hear the most conversable in the world. And actually, all the business can really get together for the golden opportunity that China is initiating, and all the world is jumping. I'm glad to see all the other presidents, including UN Secretary General, all talk about other plans that coupled with China's plan. And also we see the B3W, EU Global Gateway, in India, Europe corridor. So all those, initiatives initiated by China, responding by the world. Let's go, further to that, and let's usher in a new era of a global transformation through the infrastructure, culture exchanges, and people-to-people exchanges. Yeah. This is a great era to come.
This is one of the things that could really take things to the next level.
Indeed, and talking about taking things to the next level, Mr. Tang, and I'd like to follow on that 80 billion RMB that will be injected into the Silk Road Fund. Tell us a bit more about the role of Silk Road Fund played so far.
Well, the Silk Road has been providing project funds for things, but the reason you're going to see more emphasis on this is filling in the pieces. I mean, these small development areas that they want to do in terms of social as well as economic development, very, very important. I'm an ex-lawyer, investment banker, business guy. Yes, I do believe in the power of economics, but quite frankly, I took a slightly different message, that this is a very balanced initiative that does include civilization values, putting money into social development, education. They talked about technical training, vocational training. These things are really important, and they have to be done. You cannot create this kind of community of shared values by leaving half the people behind or pursuing money just by itself. There has to be security, and there has to be a respect for these countries and their own paths as they develop them.
Well, gentlemen, let's get more updates from another main venue of this year's forum, that is the China National Convention Center, and my colleague Wang Mangmang is standing by there. Mangmang, bring us up to date.
Sure, Pendong. Well, Chuyan, the media center sees big crowds of journalists as the opening ceremony kicked off. Reporters from home and abroad were listening attentively to the keynote speakers, and of course they were taking notes of the key messages there. Over 3,000 reporters are here to cover this event, and half of them are foreign correspondents who have various interests. Some like to hear voices of the global south, and some are more keen on the financial sector. Some would certainly raise doubts or criticism, and these are all very natural in a global setting like this. So it's interesting to see their coverage of the forum and learn about the BRI through their lenses. Well, Pendong and Jiuyuan, I bumped into our biz anchor Michael early in the morning. He arrived much earlier than his first interview of the day because he simply likes the vibe here at the news center. I'm sure our guests there in the studio have already shared a lot of their insights. What I learned from the opening ceremony and from talking to participants over these 2 days is that the Belt and Road Initiative is indeed entering a new stage of development. And there's a strong shared desire to push it forward. We know that the BRI started off with heavy state-driven investment into hard infrastructure overseas. And the past decade saw the building of everything from roads, railways, and ports to power stations, schools and hospitals. Most of this money went to energy and transport sectors. And through the creation of these connections, cultures, people, their minds and hearts were also brought together. But over time, this initiative has been adapting to changing realities. While projects improved people's well-being and boosted trade, critics say that some of these projects also raised economic and environmental concerns. So, partner countries are here taking advantage of this forum to address these problems and chart a renewed roadmap. The BRI, as we mentioned, is going green and digital. This announcement to set up a Silk Road e-commerce platform and hold annual digital trade expo will certainly be a major game changer. It marks a more sophisticated and advanced level of connectivity, joining people through the network of things. And then certainly there's also technology to help create numerous possibilities in the process of upgrading this cooperation, and also the commitment to supporting green innovation. So the future path of the BRI will be shaped by the will and wisdom of all participating countries in their efforts to achieve those goals and address challenges along the way. It's now back to you, Juliet and Pendant.
Thank you very much, my colleague Wang Mengmeng at the China National Convention Center, the main venue of this year's BRF.
Good to see that you are, Michael, are having fun there, Mengmeng. Thanks very much. Now, let's talk about the speeches from other leaders, Mr. Wang. We've also heard leaders from, Russia, Kazakhstan, Argentina, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and also, the UN speaking at the forum. What are the things that stood out to you the most?
Well, actually, it strikes me quite much is that I found that, for example, President Putin's speech, he talked quite a lot about Euro-Asia connectivity. He talked about all the plans that Russia wants to propose and to push. And then, of course, from President of Kazakhstan, he talked about, Caspian corridor that they are actually interested, and also they have a similar plan also in the making. African, the president talked about, what about China, African cooperation, so many things going to be happening, agriculture and many others. Of course, we heard Argentina, the president talk about the similar thing, where Silk Road on ocean expanding to Latin America. And particularly the UN Secretary General, Guterres, he talked about a lot on the infrastructure that developing country needs. So I think that is really the important for OHA.
Yeah, what about you, Einar?
Yeah, I thought Putin was trying to make it clear that Russia is a partner and a cooperator in the Belt and Road Initiative. The rest of the nations were expressing a mixture of gratitude for the direction so far and hoping, as Henry has pointed out, for more development. But I was hoping that there would be a greater call for financial things, not what can you give me, but how can we get together. I think that'll probably be done at BRICS and BRICS Plus in the future. This cannot be financed by China alone. There were substantial amounts that were put on, 350 billion by each, the Chinese Development Bank.
Right.
And also,
thank you very much, gentlemen, for your insights. And that's it for this special coverage of the opening ceremony of the Third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. The world leaders have reviewed the achievement under the BRI and shared their expectations for the future with a vision to further promote world peace and common development.
That's right, and their visions, development should be steady, sustainable, and of high quality. And this is not only for the successes of today, but also for a global community of shared future. We'll bring you more updates of the forum throughout the day. Stay tuned with CGTN, but for now, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching.